In this video, I want to give you a few insights. I want to share my story of where it all started and try to keep it as short as possible, while also trying to say as much as I need to say, because this is going to be a little healing journey for myself as well. So it's going to be a very important point, and you're going to have a little experience that you will gain clarity towards at the end of this video. I'll more or less teach you something without teaching it, just by showing you, and then you'll be like, huh, interesting. Here we go. We're at a point right now that is crucial. At a crossroads. But for you to understand the significance of this crossroad, you need to know the context of the journey. So, in the sense and spirit of the Legacy Forge, let's wing that journey, because no journey can be taught quite as powerfully or quite as aligned as from the memory of the person who lived it. The power of experience. When you're listening to this story, I hope you'll be inspired to do something of your own, because there are so many things you can do, and I'll do my best to share all of those things, all of those small mindsets, concepts, and frameworks that might make things a little easier. I got into all this way back when, 2012. But without me knowing it, my journey started in 2005. It started with me having a blood clot that took me out of the school. It took me out of the normal routine. And it made me free-flowing or free-falling somewhere. I got led into a company that was not aligned with me, or it was at the time. And I followed it. And it led me down a path that was not very helpful in some ways. And in other ways, it was the most powerful, most transformational thing that could have ever happened to me. In that time, I drank a lot, and it ended up with a failed break-in attempt, a shopping mall burning down, and my first taste of prison. When I had got out, I saw that I had to do something about the situation, and in my best judgment, based on where I was at the time, I did what I did best. Criminal stuff. And I figured I was going to pay back the debt, which I assumed was going to be in the millions. I just had not seen anything else than the newspaper articles and what my lawyer had told me. Time passed, and I became somewhat of a criminal kingpin. I did everything I could to make money, and I did a lot of different things. This landed me in jail after 3 failed armed robbery attempts. I say failed because they didn't produce the result one wants if you're committing an armed robbery. Very, very interesting experience that showed me that one can work hard at being as good as one can be, in the best version of oneself, or one can work as hard as one can towards a version that gets all the things they want. One of them lacks everything, and the other part is painful beyond what I thought possible, because it requires discipline and no shortcuts. But I had grown into a mindset where I thought everything was possible, and I was, potentially able to do anything that I needed to do, which I proved to myself by committing 3 armed robberies, and also a lot of horrible stuff that I did in that period of my life where I didn't really consider the consequences. I got arrested and I was put in jail for 3 years. From 2008 to 2011, I was sitting in prison, and I learned a lot about who I am, what I am, and just how tempting the end could be. So I learned to know myself on a deeper level. And that created some sort of resilience, which I didn't know back then, but it was going to help me and support me a lot in the time that came after it. When I got out, I swore to never go behind the bars again. I was just trying to figure out my life. And I started to chase opportunities. I co-created a pub with a friend of mine. We started a audio service, a party service. It was literally called Party Service. And we were the go-to guys for celebrations and parties and events. That didn't last. And I found myself without a job. I was starting to look at how you can make money online. Not really how to make money online either. I tried out the YouTube thing. I was gaming a lot back then. I was a very good World of Warcraft player. I was the first in my guild to ding 100 with a Pandarian monk. That was a long time ago. I then got a job at a factory and I worked there for 2 to 3 years. My blood clot stopped my efforts and I had to stop. After that, I had no idea where I was going. But I had received a son and I had gained more purpose and more insight, more drive and motivation in my life. And I started to see things differently. I needed to do something. And I started to get into the whole online game for making money. The first job I had that was actually making some money was as a sex chat operator. This is a world that I fear a lot of people are stuck in. Because my job was literally to pick a card, basically. And these cards being profiles of women. And these women being partners or communication partners for other people who had signed up for the service. They just didn't know that there was dudes and women who was controlling these profiles and creating fictitious stories to make sure that they kept on sending messages, because each message was very expensive. Like $5. That alone should be a red flag, to be honest, for a lot of people. I saw friendly faces there, like people I knew, and it blew my mind. But I had to stop because I couldn't. A thought dawned on me that I couldn't be a sex chat operator and still be in good favor with my son. I just thought, what would I think if I learned my dad's job was this? So I started to look elsewhere. By this point, I had also changed my life by meeting a person at a festival. At Midgardsblot, same t-shirt I have on me today, which I have had on in a very large amount of videos so far. And if you go back, you're going to see some connections. But I will not get ahead of myself. I had changed my life by meeting this person, and there are many stories already online where I've shared that story in different angles and different layers of perspectives and insight. But I started to believe in something, and I started to see that I was meant for something more, simply because of this woman. She came from a different part of the world where they actually cared for each other. And in Norway, that is not something you see very often, that warmth. And without really knowing it, I was seeing values in this person that I had not considered before. And it inspired me to be better, to become a better person. As I started to do that, I started to see more things. And the more things I saw, the more things I got shook by. And I continued the journey. And as I continued the journey, I also continued my own human development, development in all aspects of my life, where I really went in deep and I learned how to navigate a lot of things, like emotions and thought patterns, habits, everything that you will learn if you really take the entrepreneurial route seriously, because you're going to do things that you've never done before, and you're going to learn things that you didn't think was necessary. But when you do, you see that, holy shit, this is like a life coaching program. This is next level, because you have to go into the dark. You have to really work. And the more time went by, and the more things I learned, and the more things I saw and experienced, and the more of me that I uncovered, the more authentic and free spoken I became, and the more honest and a person of integrity that I became over myself and everyone around me. Of course, in doing so, a lot of fucked up things happened. Situations that was comically horrible. Like bad to such a degree where you think that this has to be scripted. This has to be some cosmic joke. But it happened, and it taught me things I could never have learned without the experience. But this started with this one person. Just showing me that, you know what? I do this. That's how I do it. This is how I respond in a situation like this. And I learned every day. It redefined love. And when love is redefined and death is no longer feared, anything seemed to be possible. Because everything was on a step, you know, and if you've gone so many steps before, it's just about continuing to walk the steps. And I did. And we created something that felt unique. It felt like something important. It gave me purpose. It gave me something to work and live for. And I saw that it didn't just go to my kids, which was the intention. Back in the day, in the 2017, I did a challenge called the 100-Day Challenge. I recorded one video every day for 100 days. And during that challenge, my family, my daughter, I got her daughter with this fantastic person. When she got to 1 year old, they got notified that they were being deported. This during that challenge. And it wrecked me. Totally, completely wrecked me as a person. But I continued the challenge. And I got through the challenge. And when I was done, I was doing all these other things in search of a solution. On this search, I found meditation. I found cannabis. That led me to LSD, which then led me to the state of mind that I had never seen, heard, or even considered, because I had not had the experience, right? But it led me to research more. I now needed to know more. And I found out that there were mushrooms that did the same thing. And in my mind, it felt more natural. It was natural. It was literally nature. So I started to research these more. And I got to a point where I started to really understand how these were way more than what I had been led to believe. Mycelial networks. Mycelium is the threads, the web that is between mushrooms, underground. It is literally what creates the mushroom. So the mushroom is like the fruit, and the mycelium is like the tree. In this case, it's the roots, and these are not even, these are communicating with roots. It's combining the forest. It is the web, the internet before internet. You know, it's the nature's internet. It communicates. It's freaking smart. They had, not to go on a tangent, but just to give you a little perspective here. They had mycelium in a, like they recreated the Tokyo metro system. They added mycelium and they added nutrient. And the mycelium formed networks towards that nutrient that was more efficient than the Tokyo metro system. Smart. I had no idea. And the more I got to know, the more I saw that this is next level. So I learned how to create them. I learned how to cultivate them. And the first couple of tries after harvest, I failed. I didn't know how to prepare them. I didn't know how to store them. I didn't know how to dehydrate them. I didn't know a lot. So there was a lot of mistakes, perceived mistakes. But I learned. I got better. And then all of a sudden I learned that these are growing in nature. Psilocybes melancea is one of these, the third most potent in the world, and it's growing in my backyard. The reason I'm saying this is because after figuring this out and really learning about mushrooms on a whole holistic way, I learned not just about Similanceata and cubensis, like these magical mushrooms, these psilocybin mushrooms. I also learned about chaga and lion's mane and turkey tail and all of these other mushrooms that it does magic, literal magic. It helps with neurogenesis, which in many cases is a treatment against Alzheimer's, which is one of those diseases that they say that it cannot be cured. But mushrooms and different mixtures of mushrooms have cured the most incurable things. Just a side note. So I was fascinated. But after I found these medicine on my journey, see, told you it was not going to be a long tangent, I started to see reality different. I started to think different. Feel different. I felt more. Now, love had been redefined by my partner. But now the frequency of love became different. If an emotion is a reaction, right? When you feel it in all of your body, and we know that you can measure your heat, your radiation with the current technology today. And radiation is kind of a amplified emotion, a vibration, which is then a frequency, right? That you can actually kind of see your emotions as radio station or frequencies, and know that if you are vibrating on a high level, where love is among the top ones, your energy will radiate further. So I started to see this differently. For those who have tried, you know what I'm talking about. You feel connected. And this feeling changed how a lot of my other emotions had been up until that point. It was the most important event, probably, in my life, because it allowed me to see it from a different perspective. To see my body and my system and my being and my reality and everything from a different perspective. I started to see solutions. I started to see infinite possibilities. I started to see the world through a quantum mindset. Everything was possible as long as I was doing the thing and focusing on it, and energy attracting more of the same. Where focus goes, energy flows. All of these things, right? I just didn't know where to go. So time went by. I was starting all these different things with this new mindset now, where I wasn't focused on creating a business. I wasn't focused on selling a product. I was more focused on creating an entity that allowed for those things to simply be a byproduct. And it took me back to humans and communities, and how a group of people are able to create the most unspeakable things. It allowed me to see that a lot of patterns, like the survival of the fittest, the hustle nation, you know, the people who have the hustle mentality to just go out there and create and sell and blah, blah, blah. Living in the yacht, driving the Lamborghini. The lonely ones. It allowed me to see that that was not my preferred way to go. I started to use the analogy of the anthill. Collaboration, cooperation, co-creation, you know. And start to see that if you have a group of like-minded people, then you can do anything. And I kind of had this principle. I was very fed up with being told what to do. Because let's fast forward a little bit. A lot of the things that I have briefly gone into have whole videos dedicated to them. So let's fast forward to 2020, where this whole thing happened. At that time, I was told to inject stuff in my body because that was just how it was. But I started to see my body and my sovereignty and my will and my whole consciousness differently. And I was not about to let someone tell me what I was supposed to do, especially knowing what I knew. I had researched a lot, and also I didn't have to research a lot because for me it was just fundamentally stupid to trust someone who had gone through a very short trial run with an experiential drug that I had no idea. I had more questions than answers. That's kind of literally where I was. I was not about to do that because it kind of fit into the whole narrative that was also playing out. Something that most people were not aware of. And I didn't want to make a big fuss of it. But one thing that really bugged me is the fact that they were also saying that the medicine that was growing in my front yard, that was illegal. Even though it had thousands of years of history. Even though it had so many current experiences and testimonials, basically. Success stories. People who had gone through depression and all of a sudden found themselves better. People who had cured anxiety. They had gone through life not knowing who they were. And with that medicine uncovered their magic and changed everything. That was told to be illegal. I couldn't stand by that. So I was kind of fired up. And I had this rebel in me. And I took my work with the whole medicine a little bit more seriously. And we had a community that I found early on in the journey, and I asked to be an administrator of this shortly after joining because I had experience with social media and marketing and community managing. And the current admin just had it as a fun group. So I became the administrator. I started to do some stuff, and now we're at 11,000, closing up on 12,000 members. And I figured if you're going to change something, you need a lot of people behind you. You need people with the same vision. People who's going up the same mountain. Even though not everyone knows where the fuck they are. Maybe some just found themselves on the mountain and they're not just sitting smoking a joint in the path. I don't know. Some people will not know what they're part of. That's just how it's supposed to be because not everyone can think completely identical, right? But in this case, most of us agree that it is a fundamental flaw. It is a breach of humanity. It is a human rights disgrace. It's not okay, to criminalize nature, who has done the same thing for years until humans came and said, no, you're doing that wrong. It became a mission to speak up in a situation where something had to be said. And we've been doing everything we can to make sure that people get that information so that they understand why we're doing this. So they understand it's not just a drug. It is a medicine, and it should be honored, and it has the potential to wake people up. So I worked a lot on that, and that was a big start in seeing what was possible for me. Because with the group, there was also possibilities, opportunities, and I was able to come in contact with people I would never have come in contact with if I didn't have that as a platform to reach out from. And so plans were getting made, and we started to create with other people around the world. And I came in contact with people who have done this for a long time and who's gone great distances to get to a point where they're now able to do amazing things. But they're not able to get over the hump. And that's where we are at right now. That's the crossroads. But I'm not going to get to that. I'm just going to remind you that there's a crossroads that we're currently moving towards. As I started to see different people deeper, because I had all these different conversations. I was in the core, and we have way more that we are doing than we are showing. We do way more than we show. So inside of the communities that we created, as an offshoot to this whole large one, we were having conversations about changing paradigms and creating generationally impactful projects. So I was talking to other impact creators, other community managers, other leaders, and we were sitting around the round table in the core, and we were creating epic stuff. And I started to see that, holy crap, we're actually doing something here that is going to create a lot of opportunities and a lot of freedom for a lot of people. Because it's literally a place, a sanctuary. The first phase was also always the first physical meeting place where people could just come and hang out around the fire. And then we're going to start the build of the nine centers around the world. And then without me really seeing what was going on, these have been popping up naturally because other people are moving up the same mountain. And it seems like all of these different people have different abilities and different magic that allow them to do what they do, but they lack the other pieces. And it looks like I've been collecting those pieces. I've been collecting the puzzle pieces and have just been introducing people for, I guess, a year. Just introducing the pieces and creating that relationship so that people see that, holy shit, we are heading up the same mountain and we are sharing in a way that allows everyone to grow mutually. Everyone is being lifted up. And that was a pretty magical thing, to be honest. Everything was working perfectly as well. I started to have more adventures because the whole idea was to gamify life. I'm not going to go into what the Legacy Forge is right now, but the whole idea was to gamify life. And I was having these adventures that kind of, it changed my life and it changed a lot of other lives. And we saw that if we just keep doing what we're doing right now, it's a win. It's a success. We've already won. This is what was the goal all along. But over the journey, as I said, there has been a lot of situations, and these situations has been detrimental sometimes, but it has been challenges on the journey to continue to grow, to continue to learn, and to continue to implement, and continue to tweak, and continue to create, and continue to do a lot of different things that I didn't think I had to do. But I didn't move fast enough. Or did I? I actually think that I did. Because during the journey, by laying one brick at a time every single day, I learned different skills that helped me a lot in going further on the journey. And it came to a point where, you go to job because you need money, right? So if you stop going to the job, you're not going to have the money. I had a delusional idea that if I continued to get the experience, I can then create money, which would completely remove the necessity of an employer. Are you a sign? If I just knew how to create, if I knew how to be valuable, if I knew how to transmute my energy and my experience and my value and the things I knew, my knowledge, into things and offers and services and whatever I needed, then I was free, right? I didn't have to stress. I didn't have to wait for the date. I didn't have to ask for overtime. I didn't have to ask for a permission to leave, to have a vacation, to think, to breathe, to just be, to survive. Now, I'm going to also say that I'm not 100% against having a job. Of course, everyone needs it. But my point is that if you have skills, which you get by doing things over a period of time, you're going to see that you are able to create those opportunities yourself. So that's where I'm at. That part of the value and the knowledge and the experience has continued to grow and blossom and all that stuff, which has made me see what I do from a different light. It's given me confidence in ways that I didn't think I was going to get because I was searching for a goal. I was going towards something and I didn't really know what to expect on that journey. But I have started to see things from a different perspective. My mind has shifted. And now, even though there has been a lot of challenges for the last 9 months, the eagerness and the energy and the motivation and the clarity and the whole focus, determination and discipline to create solutions for those problems and kind of tie the knot or release the knot remove the rock from the flow so that everything starts to flow evenly, right? That's kind of what we've been doing. We're just removing these stones so that we can have more flow. But with each stone, things are getting more and more challenging. Just last week, we reached the crossroads where we are right now, where I saw that I have the value, we have the team, we have the resources, we have the skills, we have the plans, we have everything that we need to create the next leg. We lost the website the day after we said what we're going to do. Literally sitting there in the core, talking about the plans. The next day, the website was down. Now, I think that is a sign from the universe, because just the timing of everything, how everything has been playing up towards this point, where everything seems to have been falling apart, but it has also been a test to see, are you really ready for this? And for each thing that is dealt with, the more flow there is, the more determination, the more focus, the more drive, and the more energy is being put towards the goal. Because now it's come to the point where that root, that seedling that grew with the value and the knowledge and all that stuff, when I did that whole thing, it's grown so strong now that it's more of a bring it. Let's see if you can try to stop me, So the crossroads. Because the website went down, it won't help going to this website right now as this current moment is unfolding, the 6th of September 2024 at 9:45 p.m. Norwegian time. Currently. But I'm about to do something interesting in terms of proving that you don't need a website. It's just going to bolster the whole point even more, right? So we are focusing on getting people into the Discord server because now we have an announcement. We're going to have more physical meetings in Norway and around the world. And we're going to do a lot more in terms of creating these physical locations. It seems like that was what was missing all along. It was the physical aspect of it. And it's simple, right? It's just inviting people. Now it's just inviting the people that has been gathered over the last few years, the powerful community that has been created. And continue to do exactly what we've been doing, removing the rocks until we achieve that ultimate flow and get to the point of where we're going to go from the next chapter. Because I have no idea what my future is going to bring. I know that my next goal is the center. However that happens, well, I'm seeing and learning that every single day. It's fascinating, to be honest, because other parts are moving at the same time, and the universe seems to very much conspire towards our success, because there's a lot of things happening around us that I can't control that is very much in favor of us reaching this goal. Like the missing puzzle pieces that all of a sudden are just there, ready to talk, ready to communicate, ready to create the future. Because a future for me where I can feel good is a future where my kids and everyone has opportunities to learn who they are, to learn how to learn, to unlearn what the school fucked up. But not just that. The system right now is kind of on a bad path in many cases. There are people out there who's doing a fantastic, fabulous job, but there are also those people who's just doing things from a book and they're not really helping at all. Too many examples. So I'm talking from my own experience of talking to the people who have been left by the wayside of the system that was supposed to help them. Where technology is going today as well is very interesting if you know how to use it. And because we know how to use it and we have people who have just been obsessing with this for years, we know that we can create actual solutions that is going to help people in a different way, more deeper. Music, Ren, all these elements that has just been introduced to the playboard the last year. There are so many things. So that crossroads that I'm talking about, it is so multi-dimensional. It can go everywhere. It is like a blank slate. Losing the website temporarily was just the thing that I needed to see how many opportunities are out there. How massive of a blank slate this really is. Because we have created something that people are responding to. They're seeing what this is, and it's gathering people, it's connecting people, and it is creating a future with every single thing that happens. I really look forward to the music though. But until we really make a decision of where we are going to go right now, which is going to be something of what we have already done. And if you don't know what we have already done, get into the Discord server, scan that QR code right there and get in. And get in there like regardless. If you want to go in there to see what we're talking about, and just if you want to get in contact to see if you can add to this, get into the Discord server. We're making a big point to just talk and communicate in there, because it's also just where we're trying to collect everyone, gather everyone, so that when we get to the point of having our own platform completely decentralized and all that stuff, it's easy to say that we now have that thing ready. Because we're trying to create something that is not affected by everything that is going on as well, while we are sitting by campfires in nature. Back to natural. Aligned with our highest purpose and doing something that is meaningful. Having actual meaningful conversations and creating something that is going to stand for generations. It's kind of huge. And now that you're seeing all these other creators talking about the same thing, it adds to the motivation. We are not the only ones, you know? You're not alone. Everyone has their dream. And everyone is working towards it. Just talking to someone or being the presence of someone who is actively working on their goals and dreams and their legacy elevates other people, because the energy can't be beat. Maybe you can tell, like, objectively from a lot of people, they would see my life right now and think that he has just gone through the worst year of his life. I would disagree. I've gone through a journey that has taught me things that I could never have learned without the experience. And I look forward to see what comes next, because we've been preparing for this. So if you want to be a part of that next jump in the chapter, scan the QR code. The Crossroads is happening right now. In terms of what I said in the beginning, how could this teach you anything, right? How is this going to be a thing that you experience and learn while doing it? Well, this comes from the 100-day challenge, what we now know as Saga. Self-awareness, growth, and adventure. Where I'm sharing something from memory, from where I started to where I want to go. And by me doing so, I'm getting more clarity, more perspective on what I'm talking about. If I was to talk about a situation back in the day that was not really helpful, that was painful, it could help me to get more acceptance of the situation, to see where I could go from here into the future. Which means that me telling you about it, talking to the camera, is healing. So by me sitting down like this and just vent like that, it's healing. Maybe you see my energy is completely changed now compared to the beginning of the video. Because this is what happens. Every single time, this is what happens. It's a process that if you do it as a habit, you're not just going to create a little fan base, to be honest. People who see you and understand you and support you for who you are, who's then going to be more of a soul family who can help you to create things that you couldn't even consider before alone, right? You're not going to just create reach and create a community. And this does not just have to be online. This is a human thing. So we're doing storytelling here, right? You're telling the story of who you are. Have you done so? Have you ever said who you really are? Have you told the story of where you came from, where you are, and where you want to go? Because if you haven't, you should try. The more you do it, the better you get. And so it goes. Experience. The more experience you get, you're going to be able to create and tell stories on the fly without knowing where you're going to go. But you're going to have a flow that is next level. So that's what I wanted to really say, that this, if you did what I just did, just talk, just communicate, just say who you are to the world, you're going to be quite surprised by the result. Or write it. I don't know. For me, it works to talk. Doesn't do so for everyone. So create a song like Ren. Do the thing that works for you, but get it out. Use that energy. Transmute it. I can promise you can create anything you want in this world. You just have to start. For me, as the legacy song says, this is just the start. Literally. I wonder when we do start, though, because it has felt like that for a long time. I just saw that I had been speaking for 40 minutes. It's also a good way to collapse time and just make it irrelevant. The coffee even got cold. Thank you for giving me your time and energy and focus and just being here. You seeing this right now, it tells a lot about you. So either you honor me with your time, or you got something from this. You're searching for something. If it is the latter, I'm happy for you. You have a lot of stuff that is going to happen just by you continuing to look for it. But also just remember, you have to do it as well. You have to do this spew, as my daughter says. Scan the QR code if you want to meet more like-minded people like yourself, and take care of your freaking family. See you in the next one.